O chosen one, listen carefully. You have been marked, set apart, sealed by divine intention before the foundations of the earth, and yet for too long you've walked this world as if forgotten. You've watched others rise, while you remained in silence. You've prayed with open hands, wept behind closed doors, and wondered why the heavens felt so quiet. You looked for signs, for confirmation, for movement, and still nothing shifted. The doors stayed closed, the calls never came, the waiting stretched into weariness. And so the questions grew louder. Has God passed me by? Did I fail the test? Is something broken in me? But now you must know this was never rejection. It was not punishment, and it was not absence. You were not abandoned. You were hidden. Hidden not because you were lacking, but because you were sacred. Not overlooked, but overprotected. For you are not ordinary. You are chosen. And what is chosen must be concealed until it is strong enough to carry what it was born to release. You thought you were being ignored, but you were being preserved. You were not waiting. You were being forged. You were not benched. You were being built. While others were being called forward, heaven was drawing a veil over you, not to withhold your destiny, but to shield it from premature exposure. Because what you carry is holy, and heaven does not throw pearls before swine, nor place fire in the hands of the unprepared. There is a reason God kept you unseen. If you had stepped into visibility too soon, the weight of your assignment would have crushed you. If you had tasted the spotlight before your soul had been anchored, the praise of men would have unraveled your identity. If the enemy had known the fullness of your anointing before your armor was secured, he would have targeted you with precision. So God hid you, not from destiny but for it. He hid you in plain sight, even from those closest to you, so he could shape you in secret. He placed you in the dark, not to diminish your light, but to deepen your roots. He took you off the battlefield, not because you were weak, but because he was reforging your weapons. He pulled you out of circulation, not because you were useless, but because you were never meant to be common. In the hidden place, he stripped away the noise, the expectations, the applause, until your heart beat for him alone. And while you mistook the silence for abandonment, heaven was singing over you the entire time. Songs of preparation, songs of prophecy, songs only the hidden ones can hear. You were never in a prison. You were in a sacred chamber, a holy forge, a consecrated womb of becoming. And now the shift has come. The time of unveiling is near. The soil around you is loosening, the seal is breaking, and the voice that once seemed still now calls to you with power. Come forth. But before you rise, you must understand what has truly happened to you, because if you step into this new season without revelation, you will sabotage what was meant to be sacred. You were not left behind. You were hidden in the hand of God. You were not overlooked. You were reserved. You were not delayed. You were timed. You were not buried to die. You were planted to rise. You are not emerging by accident. You are rising by appointment. And the same hand that covered you is now unveiling you, not for vanity, not for applause, but for divine release. You are the treasure that was hidden in darkness. And this is the hour of your revealing. If this word pierced your spirit and you know it was for you, declare it in the comments. 77, I trust in you, Lord. Let heaven hear it. Let hell fear it. This is your moment. Speak it, seal it, and step into it. There is a reason heaven cloaked you in silence. There is a reason your name was not called when others were summoned. There is a reason doors you knocked on remained shut, even as others walked through open gates with lesser oil. It was never because you weren't enough. It was because you carried too much glory to be mishandled by the unready. You were never meant to be displayed casually. You are not a decoration in the temple. You are a living altar, and altars must be consecrated in secret. While the world rushed forward to be seen, God took you in his hand and said, "Not yet." As C.S. Lewis profoundly wrote in The Problem of Pain. Pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. Your silence and trials were God's megaphone refining you through pain for a purpose too weighty for premature release. Because he knew the weight of your call would demand more than public gifting, it would require private crucifixion. And that is what he led you through. Not punishment, preparation, not delay, refinement, not silence, sanctification. You were chosen for something that could not be built on platforms or followers. You were chosen for something eternal. Look through the pages of his word, and you will see it. This is the pattern of heaven. Moses was hidden for 40 years in a wilderness, not because God had forgotten him, but because the deliverer of nations cannot be released before he learns to walk alone with fire. David was hidden in fields, unseen by even his own father, because the heart of a king must first be forged in the stillness of obscurity. Joseph was given a dream, then thrown into pits and prisons, because the dreamer must learn humility before authority. And Jesus, Son of the living God, spent 30 years hidden in the dust of Nazareth before one miracle touched the earth. So tell me, chosen one, why would you expect to rise without being refined? He hid you because he loves you too much to expose you before you're ready. He hid you because premature exposure is a form of destruction. He hid you because he doesn't want to present a version of you that still seeks validation in the eyes of man. He hid you until your identity could stand untouched by praise or rejection. He hid you until your roots grew deeper than your reach. He hid you so that when the winds of elevation come, you would not be moved. You were never placed in hiding to diminish you. You were hidden to multiply your weight in the Spirit. C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity captures this transformative process vividly. It may be hard for an egg to turn into a bird. It would be a jolly sight harder for it to learn to fly while remaining an egg. We are like eggs at present, and you cannot go on indefinitely being just an ordinary, decent egg. We must be hatched or go bad. Your hiddenness was the shell, and now you are being called to break free, ready to soar into the purpose for which you were refined. Every unseen moment, every hidden year, every forgotten space, it was sacred. It was counted. It was heaven's architecture working in silence. The world measures value by visibility, but heaven measures power by surrender. You surrendered even when you didn't understand. You stayed when you could have left. You worshipped in the quiet when no one was watching. And now what was formed in secret is being called into service, not because you forced it, not because you earned it, but because God has declared, the appointed time has come. You were not born for display. You were born for dominion. And what God hid, he will now reveal, not to entertain the crowds, but to establish his kingdom through you. So do not resent the hiding. Do not curse the silence. Do not envy the ones who ran ahead. They were seen first, but you were chosen deeper. And in this hour, heaven is not looking for those who can impress. It is looking for those who can endure. You endured. You remained. You trusted when there was no sign, and now the seal is lifting not by man's command, but by heaven's decree. The hiding was holy, and now the revealing will be unstoppable. You must understand this now, and let it sink into the marrow of your bones. God did not hide you to punish you. He hid you to protect you. From the weight of exposure too early, from the seduction of applause before your spirit was grounded, from the traps set by those who would admire your gift but poison your soul, from the pride that swells when platforms come before purification. He hid you because the oil on your life is rare, and rare oil must be guarded until its appointed use. You were not kept from influence, you were kept for consecration, and what felt like rejection was really protection wrapped in silence. There are things that would have killed you had they found you unready. Opportunities that looked like favor but would have fractured your faith. Relationships that seemed divine but would have strangled your anointing. Voices that appeared wise but carried the seeds of distraction and destruction. God saw them all, and so he closed the doors you begged him to open. He withheld the stages you thought you were ready for. He placed you in obscurity, not to strip your value, but to preserve your vision. He placed you in quietness not to steal your voice, but to teach you how to hear his. He removed the crowds, not to silence your influence, but to ensure your heart beats for his presence and not for performance. You are not a microwave miracle. You are not the product of spiritual shortcuts. You are an oven-roasted, slow-baked, heaven-forged instrument. And just as a cake pulled too soon from the fire will collapse when touched, so too would you have crumbled if God had released you before time. He let the heat continue because he loves you too much to serve you undercooked to a starving world. You are not called to impress. You are called to sustain. And sustaining glory requires deep preparation. It requires wounds that have been healed, not hidden. Motives that have been purified, not polished. Faith that has been weathered, not feigned. And God, in his infinite wisdom, delayed your appearance so he could deepen your foundation. The silence you resented was the very space where he fortified your spine. The long nights you hated were the holy ground where he taught you to war in the spirit. The stillness you misunderstood was the sacred classroom where he made you fluent in his whispers. You thought nothing was happening, but everything was being built. In the waiting, your roots stretched far below what eyes could see. And now, as the season begins to turn, what was underground is ready to rise. But don't mistake this moment. Your revealing isn't just about being seen. It's about being strong enough to carry what others can't. It's about enduring what others escape. It's about holding the weight of glory without bending to the pressure of man. This is why God hid you, because you were never meant to burn out after the first breakthrough. You were meant to shine with a fire that hell can't put out. You were never meant to rise and fall. You were meant to rise and remain. And what remains must be refined. So, take a breath now. Look back and see the hand of God, even in the places that looked empty. He was there. He was working. He was molding a vessel, not of clay alone, but of fire and purpose. He didn't hide you to hurt you. He hid you, so that when he reveals you, nothing, absolutely nothing, can undo what he has established. There is a shift now, a trembling in the unseen, a stirring beneath the surface, and though your eyes may not yet perceive it, your spirit does. Because when the time of unveiling approaches, heaven begins to release signals not through noise but through knowing. And if you are still enough, if you have been faithful in your hiddenness, you will feel the wind change before it touches the leaves. This is how the chosen ones know, not by fame, not by the fanfare of man, but by the whisper of the Spirit that says, "Prepare. The time is near." The first sign is subtle but unmistakable. What once broke you no longer bends you. You begin to realize that the same voices, the same wounds, the same disappointments that used to shake your identity now pass through you without damage. The silence that once felt like abandonment now feels like protection. The rejection that once pierced you now rolls off your spirit like water on stone. Why? Because your roots have grown deep enough that storms no longer move you. You no longer define yourself by outcomes, opportunities, or opinions. You have been emptied of the need to prove, and now you stand in quiet strength not because you know everything, but because you trust the one who does. And when your heart can carry the weight of no without collapsing, that's when heaven knows you're ready for the yes. The second sign is this. The right people begin to find you. Without striving, without self-promotion, without knocking on every door in desperation, suddenly the right connections begin to come, divinely appointed, unmistakably aligned. Invitations arise that match what God spoke to you in secret years ago. Rooms you were once invisible in begin to call your name, not because you changed your voice, but because your voice has been refined by fire. This is not popularity. It is alignment. This is not networking. It is heaven sending confirmation that what was grown in secret is now ready to serve in public. And you will know it's from God because you will not have to manipulate your way into it. The opportunities will recognize the oil, the assignments will seek the anointed, and the third sign, the most intimate of all, is the stirring that begins in your spirit before anything changes around you. Before the phone rings, before the door opens, before the stage is set, something begins to burn inside you again. The clarity returns, the weight lifts, the weeping dries, the inner war calms. And you cannot explain why, but you know something is shifting. You wake up with fresh focus. You begin to speak again with authority. You hear the whisper of heaven saying, "Come forth." This is the labor before the birth. This is the contraction before the crowning. This is not emotion. This is spiritual movement. And only the hidden ones recognize it, because they've lived long enough in the silence to know what the Spirit sounds like when he begins to stir. These signs are not coincidences. They are heaven's signal fires. They are the alarm bells of your release. And if you've seen them, if you've felt them, if something inside you has begun to rise, then know this with holy certainty: the seal is opening, the light is shifting, the door is cracking. You are not pushing your way out. You are being called forth. And when God calls you cannot remain hidden even if you tried, because the same hand that covered you is the hand that now uncovers you. And no voice in hell can silence what heaven has scheduled. Do not be deceived. Just because the door begins to open does not mean it cannot be mishandled. Many have been called, many have been chosen, and yet not all have crossed into their appointed hour intact. Not because God changed his mind, but because they mishandled what was holy when it arrived. They were prepared in the spirit, but careless in the natural. They stepped forward with excitement, but without discernment. They confused promotion with permission and ran ahead of the cloud. And so, the very season that was meant to elevate them became the very moment they crumbled. Chosen one, hear this clearly. Your revealing will not be sustained by talent, charisma, or momentum. It will be sustained by obedience. As C.S. Lewis wrote in the Screwtape Letters, courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. Your unveiling demands courage, a courage that manifests as obedience, ensuring you steward this sacred moment with the reverence it requires. Now is the time to walk, not with ambition, but with awe. This next season is sacred ground. The favor that is beginning to form around you is not a trophy, it is a trust. You are not being elevated to be seen. You are being entrusted to carry what others cannot. And if you forget who held you in the silence, you will not be able to withstand the sound. The most dangerous thing that can happen to a chosen one is to be seen by man and no longer led by God. So, guard yourself now, not with fear, but with holy awareness. Because when God calls you out of hiding, the first test is not success, it is stewardship. Do not run just because the door is open. Pause. Inquire. Ask the one who kept you hidden what part of the promise he wants you to walk in today. Just because the full vision burns in your chest does not mean all of it must be fulfilled at once. The enemy will tempt you to sprint, to overcommit, to wear your oil thin with every invitation that comes. But the Spirit says, walk. Let the steps be ordered, not forced. Let the pace be heaven-governed, not pressure-driven. For many burn out, not in failure, but in success. They weren't ready to carry. This is not the time to be everywhere. This is the time to be exactly where He sends you. Nothing more, nothing less. And above all, guard the oil. Guard the anointing that has cost you everything. Not everyone who walked with you in the wilderness is meant to walk with you in the unveiling. There are some who could survive your silence, but would sabotage your rising. There are voices that were gentle in your hiddenness, but will turn jealous in your ascension. There are hearts that cannot celebrate what they did not build. You must not drag old alignments into a new atmosphere. This is not cruelty. It is obedience. Even Jesus in His unveiling turned to His disciples and said, "If they do not receive you, shake the dust off and move on." Why? Because the oil is costly and exposure is expensive. You are not obligated to explain your obedience. You are not responsible to make others understand your light. Protect the oil at all costs. It was pressed in pain. It was refined in fire. And now, It is ready to be poured, but only where heaven has assigned it. This is the threshold. This is the turning. And as you step forward, do not carry the urgency of ambition. Carry the reverence of one who knows this moment was written in the scrolls of heaven before time began. You are not walking into opportunity. You are walking into ordination. The stage may look the same. The crowd may be louder, but this is not performance. This is prophecy fulfilled. And you, chosen one, must handle it like one who knows it. This is the hour, and you know it not because the room grew louder, not because the spotlight found your face, but because something eternal is stirring inside you, something ancient, something that was planted before you took your first breath. Heaven is no longer whispering. Heaven is declaring, the seal is lifted, the veil is torn, the wilderness has served its purpose, and the voice that once held you in silence now calls you forth with fire. Rise, for the time appointed has come. You were hidden for a holy reason. Every tear in the quiet, every night without confirmation, every moment you felt overlooked, it was all preparation for this unveiling. God never wastes the hidden ones. He reserves them. He fortifies them. He clothes them in the fear of the Lord. And when he reveals them, the earth cannot deny it. This is not the time to look around for approval. This is not the time to second-guess your readiness. You are not emerging by accident. You are being released by design. Not because you forced it, not because you earned it, but because God himself has declared, now. So what do you do now, chosen one? You walk, not in fear, not in striving, not in performance. You walk in the unshakable stillness of one who has been through the fire and has come out carrying glory. You walk like one who knows the wilderness. Wasn't a detour, it was the birthplace of authority. You walk like one who understands that power is not noise, and impact is not always seen. You walk like one whose steps are ordered, whose mind is renewed, whose heart is anchored not to the crowd, not to outcomes, but to the presence that held you when no one else could find you. You don't rush. You don't promote. You don't prove. You simply become. You live as one who is sent, not hired, as one who is released, not reactive, as one who was once buried like a seed but now has risen like a sword. Your silence trained your ears. Your rejection refined your motives. Your hiddenness prepared your hands to carry what others could not. And now, you don't need to force open what heaven has already unlocked. You don't need to scream for what God is already announcing. Your name is echoing in rooms you haven't entered. Your anointing is drawing assignments you haven't seen. And every part of your story, even the ones you wished away, is now oil in the lamp you will carry into this next chapter. But remember, this visibility is not victory. Release is not rest. Being seen is not the end. It is the beginning of greater obedience. The weight may grow heavier. The warfare may intensify. But you have been prepared in the silence for such a time as this. And the one who hid you in love will now walk with you in glory. He has not released you to be famous. He has released you to be faithful. He has not lifted you to be applauded. He has positioned you to carry his fire. So go forth not with fear but with reverence. Not with haste but with heaven's rhythm. Not to prove yourself, but to glorify the one who wrote your name on his palm before time began. You were hidden, chosen one, and now you are revealed. And when heaven reveals what it has refined, no power in hell can undo it. Before you take the next step, before you speak the first word in this new season, there is one question that must be answered, not by your mouth but by your soul. Do you know the one who held you in the hiding, not just the God of your calling, but the lover of your soul, not just the voice who gave you vision, but the shepherd who carried you when you thought you were alone? Because this unveiling, this rise, this release, it was never just about your assignment. It was always about intimacy. The long nights you wept weren't just a test of endurance. They were an invitation to lean on him in the dark. The silence wasn't absence. It was a holy space for encounter. The wilderness wasn't delay. It was where he walked beside you away from the noise, so he could speak what only the hidden ones hear. You were not hidden from the world. You were hidden into him. And now, as the veil lifts, and the world begins to see what God has been shaping, heaven whispers one final invitation: come closer still. Chosen one, do not rise in power and drift from presence. Do not step into visibility and forget who saw you first. The oil on your life is not your own. The breath in your lungs is not earned. The mantle on your shoulders is holy, and it is only sustained through communion, through abiding, through surrender. What you carry cannot survive without the altar. And if you've lost that intimacy in the noise, or if you never truly found it in the silence, then hear this now, not as condemnation but as mercy. Jesus is calling you back, not to religion, not to performance, not to spiritual routine. He is calling you back to himself, to sit again at his feet, to rest your head against his chest, to hear his voice not as a command, but as a song. He is the one who hid you. He is the one who protected your purpose. He is the one who never stopped watching you, even when you couldn't feel him. And now he calls, not as a distant master, but as the bridegroom of your soul. He does not just want your gifts, he wants your gaze. And if something within you stirs as you read this, if something burns, aches, trembles, then that is not emotion. That is the Spirit testifying. That is the invitation being extended to you in this very hour. Return, abide, come home. You do not need perfect words. You do not need to clean yourself up. You just need to surrender. Right now, in this moment, whether for the first time or the 1,000th time, whisper this with all the courage you have left Jesus. I give you my life again. I return. I surrender. Not just my calling, but my heart. I trust you. I want you. I need you. I am yours. And if you prayed that not just from your lips, but from your soul, then heaven rejoices. You are no longer wandering in the dark. You are no longer walking alone. You are no longer simply a vessel for glory. You are a child in the arms of the King. The same God who hid you is the God who now walks beside you, and he is not just releasing your purpose, he is renewing your heart. You are not just revealed, you are restored. You are not just called, you are claimed. You are not just chosen, you are his.